In stories, we look for meaning because our lives can seem meaningless. We cling to every ounce of symbolism, the words we hear, and the characters' actions. We use them to understand and see the world through the eyes of others. Why did they do this? Why did they think that? We continually search for a meaningful life, even when death awaits.
Manga readers hyped up the Shibuya arc of Jujutsu Kaisen. The story's been building up to this moment, and this arc has been hailed as one of the best in modern shonen. However, some feel this arc could be better. They claim that the story has lost what made it special and has relied too much on its fights to tell its story. But are these claims true? Is Jujutsu Kaisen overhyped? Sadly, this video believes that Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 is not the best, even extending to Season 1. Want to find out why? Well, continue watching. At its core, the story is about Jujutsu sorcerers and their constant battle against cursed spirits and curse users to a lesser extent. Day by day, a sorcerer is exposed to the cruelty of their world. As we learned in episode 2, there are days when finding someone's body disfigured is a good outcome. This information is given in response to Yuji's question on casualties. Yuji has to make a critical choice, choose to be executed or become the vessel to Sukuna. Yuji asks if all the parts of Sukuna are gone, would that help other people? Gojo says of course. Yuji agrees to become Sukuna's vessel to save other people. This is Yuji's why. He acts to protect others, since his grandpa gave Yuji this order as a dying request. But there's a problem. Yuji's reason is the wrong choice in the story's world. Yuji's not doing this for himself, but under the order of his grandpa. It's here where Masamichi Yaga tests Yuji's resolve. We learn that a Jujutsu sorcerer constantly faces death, and in some cases, must ignore victims. The principal asks Yuji if he will blame his grandfather if a curse kills him. We learn that sorcerers rarely die without regrets. Again, he asks Yuji why he came. Yuji finally gives a fitting answer. His answer is he was always better than others in sports and fights, but never once did he think this was something only he could do. Never? He feels that being Sukuna's vessel is something only he can do. He thinks that if he runs away from his current responsibility, then someday in the future, he'll live with regret. This is the answer Principal Yaga was looking for. But this answer may put off some viewers due to the setup that got us to this point. Gege has a unique way of writing. It's usually the case that he skips a few steps in characterization and confuses the audience about what's supposed to be an emotional moment, resulting in anticlimactic moments and incomplete character arcs. We see this when Yuji's grandfather died. This moment can be strange, considering we don't know Yuji or his grandfather. Additionally, Grandpa's advice would not resonate with Yuji since he already protects people and does his best to help others. We can see this when Yuji is shown helping the occult club members when they go out ghost hunting and decide to challenge one of the teachers. Going back to Yuji's answer, it would confuse viewers that Yuji would think there wasn't something only he could do when everyone at the school thought of him as superhuman. Yuji even had the confidence to accept the challenge against the coach. It's possible to say Yuji's acting in this manner because he wants to feel special since he's not. Seeing Yuji through this lens is strange, as Yuji is somewhat popular. We can see this when the coach notices Yuji's superhuman abilities, and wants him to join their team to the point that he would alter documents to force Yuji to join. Yuji's response is also vague. What does Yuji mean by something? Because he is something. Look at when he jumped into the school several floors up while Megumi had to run upstairs to save the occult members. The emotional aspect of the situation could use improvement. Yuji's grandfather passing should be a pivotal moment that deeply affects his character. However, since Yuji's already embodying his grandfather's wishes, the advice he receives doesn't quite hit home. It's similar to giving someone advice that they don't need. In Spider-Man, this is done well. We all know the story of Uncle Ben and his message to Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. Because of its execution, many have the scene ingrained in their minds. When Uncle Ben tells Peter these words, they come when Peter does the opposite. Peter's using his powers to win money and has started to act differently. Uncle Ben has noticed Peter's changes, so when he tells Peter the famous words, they come from understanding who Peter is and what he's becoming. At first, Peter doesn't listen to Uncle Ben's words. Peter lets a criminal escape when he has the power to stop him. Peter doesn't do anything because he thinks it's not his problem. Ironically, it becomes Peter's problem when the man that Peter let go is the same man that kills Peter's grandfather. Now that's writing for emotional impact. The Spider-Man scene works since it's based on who Peter is. A nerdy kid who suddenly gains power and struggles with the idea of responsibility. When Peter beats Flash and wins his match, he is rewarded for his worldview. Later, Peter is punished for his worldview when his uncle is killed. Since Yuji's grandfather does not seem to know who Yuji is, the Jujutsu Kaisen scene does not make sense. The scene does not work since the story doesn't know who Yuji is. One might believe Yuji has a hidden side. You might assume this is the case since Yuji considers himself a loner. And in episode 1, Yuji responds strangely to his grandfather when asked about his parents. For some reason, Yuji doesn't want to hear anything about his parents. But all this information is contradicted when we see how Yuji acts in the occult club. We see that Yuji is fitting in when he beats the coach. Yuji says that the club's growing on him. In episode 22, when Nobara learns that Megumi has a sister, Yuji criticizes Megumi for not sharing personal information. You would think someone with a deeper side would understand why someone would not want to reveal personal information. And in episode 6 of season 2, we see Nobara and Megumi try to get Yuji with Yuko. Going back to Yuji's loner comment, we have no reason to believe this. Yuji can pick up on Junpei's dislike for other people, and has the social awareness to get Junpei out of that situation. Yuji's the one who starts the conversation with Junpei about movies. Yuji even asks Junpei to go to the movies with him. Later, he goes to his house and enjoys making movie references. This guy can make friends, and is by no means a loner. Yuji even lies when explaining why he became a sorcerer. He says it kinda just happened. This isn't true. Yuji ate one of Sukuna's fingers, and he had the choice of dying or being a vessel. Yuji is not well written. There's been misinformation on the reason Yuji joined the club. Some people believe he joined the club because Yuji put the needs of others over his own. This is not true. If you watch the show or read the manga, the reason Yuji joins the club is spelled out. He joins the club since club activities end at 5, which allows Yuji to visit his grandpa. Also, the club does not require lots of effort. Yuji is required to join a club by his school, so the reason he joins the occult club is just out of convenience, not some narrative connection to his character as overly selfless. The inconsistencies in Yuji's characterization are not a feature, it's a bug. This takes us to episode 4. Things are tense. The mission is to rescue 5 inmates. But there's a problem. A cursed spirit is also there, and word is that it has the potential to become a special grade. The team is instructed that if they see the curse, they must run or choose to die. Yuji asks what a special grade is. Later, when the battle starts, we discover that Yuji has no idea how to use cursed energy. Yuji is brought to his limit fighting a cursed spirit. His life flashes before his eyes. He thinks about his life up until this moment, and everything that he regrets. He thinks about what it means to have a proper death. He almost gives up, but remembers that sorcerers die with regret. So Yuji puts it all into his fist instead of penning up his regret. This moment is a significant part of Yuji's character going forward. He must understand what a proper death is. Due to his strength, Yuji feels capable of giving people a proper death, but his weakness makes him feel helpless. The idea is taken to its peak in the Shibuya arc. Jujutsu Kaisen's villains can finally carry out their plans in season 2. They place several veils in Shibuya, trapping many. The civilians call Gojo's name, and the situation has taken an interesting turn. Gojo enters alone, and things start to roll. Our main cast is divided into teams to help support Gojo. Yuji's team plans to go to a local station. Mei allows Yuji to fight a strong curse spirit or kill many mutated humans. She knows Yuji will pick the former due to his nature. This is good writing, and references Yuji's characterization in the Mahito arc. This can be seen in episode 9, where Yuji has to kill transfigured humans to help Nanami. Once in the station, Yuji fights a grasshopper. This fight serves as a way to show how much Yuji has grown. Yuji is concerned with his strength, as being strong will help him give people a proper death, even though he doesn't know what that means. This idea is shown at the end of the Mahito arc as well. Yuji has almost everything under control, until he meets Choso, who starts Yuji's fall. The strategy and stakes in this battle are some of the best we've seen from Jujutsu Kaisen. For Choso, he wants to win to avenge the deaths of his brothers. For Yuji, he wants to win to prove himself that he's gotten stronger and won't lose again. This battle goes from each fighter using their strengths and exploiting the other's weaknesses. Yuji thinks he has the upper hand when he lures Choso into a close-range battle, but it doesn't go as planned. Yuji starts to doubt himself, just like his battle with the cursed womb in episode 4. This has been a consistent part of Yuji's character, and shows that Gege is starting to get the hang of how he wants to portray Yuji. Back to the story, Yuji's doubt is starting to sink in, but he uses that fear as a weapon, again playing on the same story beats in episode 4. Yuji clears his mind of all distractions, and prepares himself for the final exchange. Sadly, Yuji loses, and something strange happens. Choso starts to recall false memories. We later see that those fake memories are a product of Choso's curse technique. He can sense his brother's transformation, and death is the greatest transformation for living things. In episode 24, we see Choso sense his brother's death after Yuji and Nobara kill them, but nothing indicates that he has visions of their death. In Yuji's case, things get murky when Yuji does not die but is only on the brink of death. To make matters worse, Sukuna starts talking while Choso has his meltdown, which makes the audience think Sukuna played some role in Choso's false memories. This choice might appear to be a misdirection, but the audience isn't fully aware of what's going on since Choso's visions are not fully known. If Choso had visions in Season 1 and sensed his brother's on the brink of death, the revelation that Yuji was his lost brother would have been more satisfying. Instead of being in suspense about what's happening, we're confused about false memories and whether Sukuna is responsible. Choso would have said he was seeing visions without showing the audience what he saw, and then Sukuna could have spoken. This change of events rewards a clever audience. Yuji could be Choso's brother, but we aren't sure, or Sukuna could be playing with Choso's mind. The order of events would then be completed when Choso tells us he saw himself beating Yuji, allowing us to conclude that Choso is Yuji's brother. Now in a vulnerable state, Yuji is fed Sukuna's fingers. Sukuna proceeds to go on a rampage, destroying large parts of Shibuya and killing hundreds. Sukuna uses the city's destruction to further destroy Yuji's mental state by showing him the city's destruction. Yuji must accept that his body was used to kill many, but he must keep fighting. As he continues, Yuji sees his teacher's final moments. Sorcerers rarely die with regrets, and we see all of Nanami's regrets as he waits for his death at the hands of Mahito. Nanami notices Yuji and tries to give his final words. At first, he stops himself from saying what he wants to say when he sees the visions of a fallen friend. He tells Yuji he has it from here. These words curse Yuji like his grandfather's words. Yuji must carry their burden. But wait, there's more. Mahito seemingly kills Nobara. But before we get to that moment, let's review the mishaps that took us there. We find out that Nobara is fighting with one of Mahito's doubles. Nobara's curse technique is a bad matchup for Mahito, since it targets the soul instead of the body. When Nobara hits Mahito with her technique, she notices that the Mahito she's fighting is not the real version. Remember, Nobara knows how Mahito's powers work, and she even dodges the attacks from Mahito's double, assuming that it was the real one. All this information is vital, since for some reason, Nobara had her guard down when chasing the Mahito double. There's no good reason for Nobara to have her guard down. Even though she's chasing a double, she knows the real one can be anywhere in her area due to her ability. And with the fake version running, she should assume that it's going to be the real body. Nobara either had a complete lapse of judgment that would be out of character for any sorcerer, given what she knows, or Nobara has always been this dense. In the manga, this moment is explained as Nobara not noticing the switch, and somehow Mahito switching made a blind spot from Nobara's perspective. I don't know how this makes sense, as two people running by each other doesn't make a blind spot. Either way, this was not well written. To make things worse, we learn that Nobara has no pulse and isn't breathing, but she's not confirmed dead. At the end of the Shibuya arc, we still don't know if she survived. The whole situation is left in limbo. This has led many to say Nobara is wasted potential. For the most part, this claim is true, as Nobara's death wasn't well done, and could have played on the show's themes more strongly. Throughout the story, we learn of minor characters connected to our main cast. For Nanami, it's the girl who works at the cafe. For Yuji, it's Yuko Ozawa. For Nobara, it's Sayori. When writing, your audience can grow numb to you killing random civilians. Gojo's fight is an example of killing civilians to raise stakes done well, as Gojo has to push himself to make the situation less dire. But doing this again and again can grow stale. To fix this, you have to build connections. In other words, put these characters in Shibuya. This raises the stakes and makes it feel more personal. Whenever there's a big battle or explosion, we're not just worried about our favorite characters winning their fight. We hope the characters connected to our heroes are also safe. We watch every episode hoping we get an update on the status of the civilians, and we try to pay attention to where everyone is. This would add an exciting dynamic and make every battle feel more connected. But Shibuya does not do this. Nobara's childhood friend is not even in Shibuya when she finally appears. We also wonder why Nobara didn't try to find her friend or the cafe she mentions in episode 3. Nobara doesn't do much to find her friend when that's one of her reasons for leaving her home. She should try to find Sayori or at least the cafe. She loves shopping. She should have some hints of what the store might look like or what they serve. If Gege wants to write a moment that would leave an impact on the audience and characters, he would have Sayori in Shibuya. He would have Nobara save a group of people while Sayori is in that group. Both characters didn't notice each other. As Nobara chases Mahito, she passes the cafe that serves the treats she was so fond of. But she doesn't notice, until she sees that treat on the floor, only for Mahito to catch her off guard. When Nobara is about to die, she realizes all these connections but accepts her fate, and Sayori is still left thinking about the person who saved everyone. This is writing for emotional impact. Instead, we get a flashback told from the wrong point of view. There's a lot to be said about Nobara's character, especially the details of her past. As we meet Nobara, she knows how to use her curse technique in the grading system. From a narrative perspective, Nobara's motivation for coming to Tokyo isn't good, but it works for some reason. If Nobara got to go to Tokyo on a recommendation, or she didn't have to go through the same process as Yuji, this makes sense. Since Nobara was already shown to be knowledgeable, she did not need an interview. When shown Nobara's backstory, we see nothing about sorcerers or cursed spirits. We also don't see much about Nobara's family. This knowledge gap brings to life a theory that Nobara comes from a family of sorcerers, or has a family member that is one. This would explain many details in Nobara's strange dialogue with Yuji in episode 24. After Nobara and Yuji kill the curses that had living flesh, Yuji is disturbed. Yuji asks Nobara if she's ever killed a person. Strangely, Nobara ignores the question, and says she doesn't have a problem with killing seemingly human beings. The way Nobara is portrayed is of someone who has been a sorcerer for some time, and implies that Nobara has killed a human since she does not answer Yuji's question. Nobara probably does not want to tell Yuji since the person she killed is someone close to her, and she's uncomfortable talking about it. This claim is based on the fact that Nobara has no problem with killing, so her reason for not telling Yuji must be personal. In episode 19 of season 2, we learn that Nobara avoids spending time at home, and later on, her grandmother tries to stop her from going to Tokyo. This is just a theory, but it shows there's more to Nobara's character, and she's most likely not dead. She's the only person with Yuko's number, and with her death, Yuko will probably not return to the story. Another example of wasted writing. As a character, Nobara could have been so much more. Even if she died, her death could have been done better to play on the idea of regret. But we're just left with empty chairs. Back to Yuji. After Nobara and Nanami die, he hits his low point. Mahito takes advantage of the situation and begins to beat Yuji. He taunts Yuji for his lack of resolve and tells Yuji they mirror each other. They both act on instinct. This whole battle was just the instincts of a curse pitted against the dignity of human reason. Mahito asks Yuji if he's ever counted the number of curses that he's killed. Yuji does not answer, and the number of people Mahito has killed doesn't matter to him. In terms of dialogue and based on what we know about the characters, this scene is oddly written and could be better. Mahito attacks Yuji for not having the resolve to keep fighting. Mahito says that Yuji thought this would be similar to pest control. The line is confusing since Yuji never expected this to be easy. But it is funny since Yuji's first battle was against a grasshopper. In Shibuya, Yuji's big assumption was that he wouldn't lose before fighting Mahito and going in alone. In episode 12, we see Megumi and Yuji playing their next move. Megumi plans to take Ino outside the Veil, and Yuji intends to return to the station. Megumi thinks going to the station alone is wrong, but does not act on it. This is a big issue. Megumi knows the priority is to save Gojo, but prioritizes saving Ino when Megumi is supposed to save people selfishly. Megumi can let his summon take care of Ino. Why does Megumi choose not to go with Yuji? Going back to the baseball game, we learn that Megumi tends to sacrifice himself. Apparently, Yuji was renowned for this trait, but Megumi made it his own. According to Gojo, Megumi sacrifices himself for Nobara rather than swinging for the fences, and being a sorcerer is like an individual sport. Megumi must learn to be more selfish like Gojo or Yuji. Ignoring another instance of Yuji's mischaracterization, this is true. Megumi relies on his trump card and doesn't try his best. Megumi overcomes this when he beats the cursed spirit in episode 23. Another interesting part of Megumi's character is how he sees his role. To Megumi, he's not a hero, but a sorcerer. He saves people selfishly. Returning to season 2, seeing Megumi's reason for not going with Yuji would have been interesting. The parallel and mirror drawn between Yuji and Mahito doesn't make sense. Yuji does not act on instinct, he thinks heavily about his decisions, like learning what a proper death is or carrying his grandfather's words. Yuji pays attention to the mother during the Curse Womb incident and wants to help her. Yuji does not act on instinct, he acts on his grandfather's words. Yuji tries to understand his world and tries his best to find the best outcome. What allows Yuji to dictate this outcome is strength. This is a major point throughout the story. Yuji realizes he's not as strong and can't give people a proper death. Mahito doesn't act on instinct. He kills because he thinks it doesn't matter and sees humans as tools for him to learn more about his powers. Mahito does have a point on the number of beings they've killed. It's an interesting idea, since we, the audience, wouldn't think of cursed spirits as humans. If Mahito really wanted to get into Yuji's head, it should be based on the fact that Yuji killed 3 people at the school. That Yuji killed Choso's brother even when they shed tears. That Mahito, while not caring about human life, has not even killed his own. Yuji is not a murderer since he couldn't save people. Yuji is a murderer since his ideas are twisted, pun intended. Todo, who is by far the best character in the show, inspires Yuji to keep going. Todo's speech is amazing and references the tale of Heike. With Yuji back on his feet, the brothers try one last time to finish Mahito. There's nothing to complain about their fight as it was well thought out and has stunning visual effects. The way Todo uses his abilities to fake out Mahito is just well played. At the end of the battle, Yuji turns heel and gives his villain speech. Yuji admits that he is Mahito. Yuji wanted to pretend he didn't understand Mahito. Now, Yuji doesn't need meaning. His purpose is to kill curses. This moment is a bit wacky, and the anime fumbles it by extending the rabbit-wolf metaphor too far. It makes it appear that Yuji is letting Mahito get away while he slowly walks, just for Gito to finish the job. And Yuji saying he's Mahito doesn't make much sense, as exercising a cursed spirit is not the same as killing people. Cursed spirits are a threat to humans. It doesn't work the other way around. Yuji's new murderous mentality and lack of concern for what a proper death means will make him interesting to watch in the future. I hope this new characteristic doesn't get dropped. As for the arc before Shibuya, it should have had more time, mainly due to how Gito and Gojo see the world. Gito prioritizes protecting the weak and obeying the rules of Jujutsu society. He also thinks society should keep the strong in check. On the other hand, Gojo does whatever he feels like doing, even to the extent of not putting up veils during missions. When Gito tells Gojo the importance of protecting the weak, Gojo says he hates moral arguments. Gojo believes that we should not assign reasons or responsibility to the strong. The people that do are weak. These are two characters that, while friends, and even that's questionable, disagree on how the world should be and the role of the powerful. A well-written story will demonstrate how their worldview impacts their mission to protect someone weak in strength but powerful as a vessel. Gojo and Gito should disagree on almost everything about this mission. Gojo should be carefree, and Gito should feel overly responsible for what happens. If you watch this arc, you would know this only happens to a certain level. Gojo even stresses himself to the point of not sleeping. Gojo's actions do not make sense based on how this arc started. This should be Gito. As for Gito, he's shown as responsible when Rika's caretaker is taken hostage, and Gito takes responsibility for it. When Gito finally sends Rika to emerge with Tengen, we learn that before they meet Rika, Gojo and Gito agree to let Rika decide her fate. Gito should disagree with this, as Tengen not having a new vessel will lead to major issues. In other words, Gito is going against the rules and his responsibilities to prioritize one person, just because he and Gojo are strong. Remember when Gito argued with Gojo about the role of a sorcerer? Well, forget about all that. Remember how Gojo said protecting the weak is exhausting? Well, forget about all that too. We don't see Gojo or Gito change how they see the world to reach their decision. You can't say they changed with the bond they grew with Rika since they planned this before they met Rika. With that in mind, why didn't they tell Rika this whole time? After Rika is killed, Gojo carries her lifeless body and asks Gito if he should kill all the cult members. Gito disagrees since there would be no meaning to it. As a Jujutsu sorcerer, your actions must have a point. Gojo questions this, and Gito repeats himself, that as a Jujutsu sorcerer, meaning is important. Let's deconstruct this scene. Keike remembered who these characters were. They suddenly woke up and started acting how they were supposed to act. This scene is well done, but confusing, given both characters' arcs. Gito's lines are good as they can be seen as Gito clinging to the rules. However, Gojo's lines are strange, since if he knows Gito, he would already know his answer. It's also a bit awkward how the big stakes of this arc are not shown a year after everything, and Yuki just reveals everything's all good. So what was even the point? We later see Gito go down the dark path of becoming a curse user. He starts to doubt himself and what he believes. The job has left him broken, and what he witnessed that day stays in his mind. Luckily, Gito meets Yuki Tsukumo. She tells him about her ways of solving the underlying problems within the Jujutsu world. From Yuki's ideas, Gito concludes that all he needs to do is kill all the non-sorcerers. That would force the non-sorcerers to either adapt or die. This idea dumbfounds Gito, but is stupid by the story's logic. Using fear and danger to prevent non-sorcerers from making cursed spirits is dumb, since it would only increase the number of cursed spirits. How do I know this? Well, just ask the same character that explained the idea in episode 25. Gito says, the strongest deterrent of a cursed spirit is the mental calm of the populace. So you got that right. Gito's amazed by an idea that won't even work. And he even knows this, yet he acts surprised. Did Gege just forget this scene ever happened? Gito's just a strange character. When Gito decides to go to the dark side, Gojo, Gito's supposed best friend, is there to stop him. They argue about the feasibility of Gito's plan. Gojo argues that it won't work. There's no point in chipping away at something you can't achieve. Gito attacks Gojo for being powerful and says that if Gito were Gojo, then this idea would be plausible. Both characters are wrong in this scene. The reason Gito's plan won't work is that killing people would make people scared, and that would make more cursed spirits. You don't even have to kill a lot of people. Just hearing a few people die on the news will make people scared. This scene makes you even question Gojo and Gito's relationship. The show wants us to think these guys are best friends, but they act more like co-workers. When they argue in episode 25, nothing implies that they had this argument before. If they were best friends, you would expect this to naturally come up. But both are amazed at the other's arguments on the role of a sorcerer. They would have talked about not going on missions together if they were best friends. If they were best friends, Gojo would have done more when he noticed Gito lost weight. If they were best friends, Gito would not lie about his appearance by saying it's the summer heat. Why does Gito cling to the ideal Jujutsu sorcerer so much? Who made him cling to it? Why does he believe it? Gito's just not very well written. This arc could have been a masterpiece and shown the descent of a Jujutsu sorcerer. A more competent writer would have Gito form a close bond with Rika. Gito would ask her why she's so accepting of merging with Tengen. Since Gojo would take this whole mission as a vacation, Gito would be overworked. Gito would see that Gojo's overconfidence in his strength would lead him to his downfall. And Gito's way of overworking himself for the greater good is the right thing to do. Until the day of the merger, Rika tells Gito she's unsure of the merger. She's enjoyed playing with Gojo and appreciates Gito's efforts in the mission. In her final moments, Rika sees what it feels like to be free, and wants to live her life as a person, not a vessel. Gito now has a moral conflict. He must decide between staying to the rules or caring for the weak. Gito can't answer Rika, then she's killed by Tochi. These changes would fix a lot. It would allow Gito to question his job since his methods do not lead to success. Gojo would now be attacked since he didn't want to take anything seriously. The mission was too easy. When Gito sees Gojo has become more powerful and can beat Toji, it's a spit in the face of Gito. Gito does not know right from wrong, so he only repeats hollow words as if people are mocking Gito and praising Gojo. Now this is how you write a character arc. These changes allow the time skip to hold more weight. As Gito continues repeating hollow words and overworking himself, thinking about the clapping and Riko's death, how he could not decide, and how he must stay on the proper path. Until he finally has an answer when he meets Yuki Tsukumo. It's not necessary to agree with these new events, but to understand how they show the character's journey. These events continually push our cast to change and question their views. Now, Gito doesn't care if his plan even works. He only cares since an answer exists. Something he can cling to. And he's envious of Gojo since, with his power, he can solve everything. When Gojo is given the obstacle of killing Gito while surrounded by civilians, it makes Gojo question his worldview. It would carry more weight when he asks the principal if he is strong. Gojo will finally think about how he sees the world. To end the video positively, Jujutsu Kaisen 0 was great. The character interactions between Maki and Yuta were fun to watch. We saw Yuta grow from hated to a friend. We saw Yuta going from wanting to himself to finding friends. Some parts of season 1 were good, like Yuji and Junpei's relationship. When done well, character arcs will leave a strong impact. When done poorly, a story will turn into a mess. Jujutsu Kaisen looks to have a promising future with season 3. Yuta returning to the story to take out Yuji 2.0 could be interesting. Nonetheless, it will fail if the characters and their interactions are not developed.